The picturesque town of Millbrook seemed an unlikely setting for a crime that would shock the nation. Nestled in the rolling hills of New England, its tree-lined streets and quaint Victorian houses painted a portrait of idyllic small-town life. But behind the pristine facade of 42 Maple Street, a web of secrets and desires was about to unravel with deadly consequences. James Hartley, a 62-year-old tech mogul, had retired to Millbrook 5 years ago with his trophy wife, Vanessa. At 34, Vanessa was a former actress whose brief stint in Hollywood had left her with a taste for luxury and a desperate fear of obscurity. Their marriage was one of convenience. James got arm candy and Vanessa got financial security. They were the talk of the town, recalled Sarah Thompson, owner of the local diner. James was always showing Vanessa off at charity events, and she played the part of the doting wife perfectly, but there was something in her eyes, a kind of restlessness. That restlessness found its outlet in an unexpected quarter. Tyler Hartley, James's 28-year-old son from his first marriage, moved in with them after losing his job in Boston. Athletic and charming, Tyler was everything his father was not. Detective Lisa Chen of the Millbrook Police Department later pieced together the timeline. Tyler moved in on March 15th. By April, neighbors reported hearing heated arguments from the Hartley house, and on June 21st, exactly 3 months after Tyler's arrival, James Hartley was found dead in his study. The 911 call came in at 7:43 p.m. Vanessa's voice was hysterical as she screamed into the phone, "Please help! My husband! There's so much blood! Oh God, I think he's dead!" When police arrived, they found a scene of carnage. James Hartley lay slumped over his antique mahogany desk, his skull caved in. The murder weapon, a heavy crystal paperweight, sat nearby, streaked with blood and hair. Vanessa, dressed in a silk robe, was sobbing in the corner. Tyler stood in the doorway, his face pale with shock. Both claimed they'd been watching a movie downstairs when they heard a crash from the study. But as Detective Chen would soon discover, nothing in this house was as it seemed. As dawn broke over Mill, Detective Chen stood in the Hartley's kitchen, watching Vanessa and Tyler through the two-way mirror of the interrogation room she'd set up in the dining room. Something about their body language bothered her. They're sitting awfully close for a stepmother and stepson who just lost a family member, Chen muttered to her partner, Detective Mike Ramirez. Ramirez nodded, his eyes narrowing. And did you notice how they keep glancing at each other? It's like they're checking to make sure their stories match. The initial interviews yielded little. Both Vanessa and Tyler stuck to their story about watching a movie. "We were downstairs all evening," Vanessa insisted, her mascara leaving dark trails on her cheeks. James said he had some work to catch up on. "We only went up when we heard that awful crash." Tyler corroborated her account, but Chen noticed a slight tremor in his hand as he reached for the water glass. "Did you and your father get along, Tyler?" she asked casually. A flash of something, anger, guilt, crossed Tyler's face before he composed himself. "We had our differences," he admitted. "Dad didn't approve of my career choices, but I'd never hurt him." As the day wore on, Chen and Ramirez dug deeper. They interviewed the Hartleys' neighbors, piecing together a picture of a household in turmoil. "There were always arguments," said Eleanor Winters, the elderly lady next door. "At first it was just James and Tyler shouting, but lately I'd hear Vanessa's voice too, and sometimes," she leaned in, lowering her voice conspiratorially, "I'd see her and Tyler in the garden, talking very closely. They'd jump apart if anyone came near." A search of the house turned up more questions than answers. In James's study, alongside financial documents and tech magazines, Chen found a half-empty bottle of erectile dysfunction pills. "Looks like the May-December romance was having some issues," Ramirez commented. But it was what they found in Tyler's room that really raised eyebrows. Tucked in his nightstand drawer was a small velvet box containing a diamond necklace. The receipt, dated just a week before the murder, showed it cost well over $5,000. "That's quite a gift for someone who's supposedly unemployed," Chen mused. "Question is, who was it for?" As night fell on Millbrook, the case was far from closed. But one thing was clear to Detective Chen. In the Hartley household, deadly secrets lurked behind closed doors. The following day, Detective Chen decided to dig into the Hartley family's finances. What she uncovered sent ripples through the investigation. "James changed his will 3 weeks ago," Chen told Ramirez, her eyes scanning the documents. "He left everything to a charitable foundation. Vanessa and Tyler were cut out completely." Ramirez whistled low. "That's one hell of a motive, but why would he do that?" The answer came from an unexpected source. James's personal assistant, a nervous young man named Eric, arrived at the station clutching a USB drive. "Mr. Hartley asked me to keep this safe," Eric stammered. "He said if anything happened to him, I should give it to the police." The drive contained a video audio file. James Hartley's face filled the screen, his expression grim. "If you're watching this, I'm probably dead," he began. "I've suspected for weeks that Vanessa and Tyler are having an affair. Installed cameras in the house to confirm my suspicions. What I saw..." He paused, pain etched on his face. "Let's just say it was more than enough to change my will." Chen and Ramirez exchanged glances. This changed everything. Meanwhile, forensics had been busy with the murder weapon. "We found 2 sets of prints on the paperweight," the lab tech reported. "One matches James Hartley. The other, well, it's smudged, but it looks smaller. Could be a woman's hand." Armed with this new information, Chen decided to separate Vanessa and Tyler for another round of questioning. She started with Tyler. "We know about the affair, Tyler," Chen said bluntly, "and we know your father cut you both out of the will. Care to revise your statement?" Tyler's cool facade crumbled. "Okay, yes. Vanessa and I are in love," he confessed. "We were going to tell Dad, but then we found out about the will. We were at the house that night to confront him, to explain, but when we got to the study, his voice broke. He was already dead. We panicked. I'm sorry we lied, but we didn't kill him." Across the hall, Vanessa was telling a different story to Ramirez. "Tyler's lying," she sobbed. "There was no affair. He's obsessed with me. He killed James because he thought we could be together." As day turned to night, the detectives were left with 2 conflicting accounts and a growing suspicion that they still didn't have the full picture. As the investigation entered its 3rd day, Detective Chen felt they were missing something crucial. She decided to take a closer look at James Hartley's past. "I've been digging into James's first marriage," Chen told Ramirez over coffee. "Turns out Tyler's mother didn't die in a car accident like we were told. She disappeared under mysterious circumstances 20 years ago. The case was never solved." Ramirez's eyes widened. "You think there's a connection?" "I don't believe in coincidences," Chen replied grimly. They brought Tyler in for questioning again. This time, Chen took a different approach. "Tell me about your mother, Tyler," she said softly. Tyler's face clouded. "What does my mother have to do with this? We know she didn't die in a car crash. Want to tell us what really happened?" Tyler's composure cracked. "I don't know. Dad always told me it was an accident. Are you saying he lied?" As they questioned Tyler, a uniformed officer burst into the room. "Detectives, we've got a problem. Vanessa's gone missing." A search of the Hartley mansion turned up Vanessa's cell phone, smashed to pieces in the garden. In her closet, they found a suitcase hastily packed with clothes and a large sum of cash. "Looks like she was planning to run," Ramirez observed. But as they dug deeper, they uncovered something even more startling. In the false bottom of the suitcase was a file filled with newspaper clippings about James Hartley's first wife's disappearance. "Why would Vanessa have these?" Chen mused. The answer came from an unexpected source. Eric, James's assistant, called with new information. "I remembered something," he said, his voice shaking. "A few months ago, Mr. Hartley asked me to do some background research on Vanessa. He was paranoid, said she wasn't who she claimed to be. I didn't find much, but there was something odd about her acting career. It's like she didn't exist before 5 years ago." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "Eric, I need you to send me everything you have on Vanessa, now." As night fell, Chen stared at the evidence board, her mind racing. The glamorous actress, the affair with the stepson, the murdered tech mogul. It all felt too perfect, too scripted. "What if this isn't about a love affair gone wrong?" she said slowly. "What if it's about revenge?" Detective Chen's hunch about Vanessa's true identity proved to be the key to unraveling the entire case. After an intense 48-hour investigation, the truth emerged, more shocking than anyone could have imagined. "Vanessa Hartley isn't Vanessa Hartley," Chen announced to her team. "Her real name is Megan Hartley. She's James's first wife and Tyler's mother." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Chen continued. 20 years ago, James Hartley was involved in some shady business deals. When Megan threatened to expose him, he tried to have her killed. She survived, went into hiding, and spent years planning her revenge. The pieces started falling into place. Megan had undergone extensive plastic surgery, created a new identity as Vanessa, and re-entered James's life. Her goal, to destroy him and reclaim her son. "But Tyler didn't know?" Ramirez asked, incredulous. "No," Chen replied. "He was too young when she disappeared. Megan couldn't risk telling him the truth. The affair, it turned out, was a fabrication, a ploy to drive a wedge between James and Tyler, and to create a scandalous motive for murder that would throw investigators off the real trail." As for James's death, forensics finally provided the missing link. Traces of a powerful sedative were found in his system. He had been drugged before being struck with the paperweight. Megan must have realized James was onto her, Chen theorized. She had to act fast. But Megan had made one crucial mistake. In her haste to flee, she'd left behind a burner phone. On it, they found text messages to an unknown number, revealing her plan and her current location. She's at the old Hartley summer house, Chen realized, and I bet that's where we'll find Tyler too. As they raced to the secluded lakeside property, Chen's mind whirled. How would Tyler react to learning the truth about his mother, and how far would Megan go to keep her secret? The sun was setting as they arrived at the house, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn. Chen drew her weapon, signaling her team to move in quietly. Through the window, they could see two figures engaged in an intense conversation. Megan, her face twisted with emotion, seemed to be pleading with Tyler, who stood frozen in disbelief. Chen took a deep breath. It was time to end this twisted family saga once and for all. Detective Chen burst through the door, gun drawn. "Freeze! Police!" Megan whirled around, her eyes wild with desperation. Tyler stood shell-shocked, tears streaming down his face. "It's over, Megan," Chen said firmly. "We know everything." For a moment it seemed Megan might surrender. Then with lightning speed, she grabbed Tyler, pressing a concealed gun to his head. "Stay back," she screamed. "He's my son. You can't take him from me again." Chen's mind raced, searching for a way to de-escalate the situation. "Megan, think about what you're doing. Tyler deserves to know the truth, but not like this." Tyler's voice shook as he spoke. "Mom, is it really you?" Megan's resolve wavered. "I'm sorry, baby. I never wanted to hurt you. Everything I did was to protect you, to give us a second chance." "By killing Dad?" Tyler's voice cracked. "He tried to kill me first," Megan spat. "He was going to ruin everything just like before." As Megan's attention shifted to Tyler, Chen saw an opening. She lunged forward, tackling Megan to the ground. The gun skittered across the floor as they grappled. In the chaos, a shot rang out. When the dust settled, Megan lay motionless, blood pooling from a wound in her chest. Tyler stood frozen, the gun trembling in his hands. "I couldn't let her hurt anyone else," he whispered, dropping the weapon. In the days that followed, the full story emerged. Megan's elaborate revenge plot had spanned years. She'd seduced James, not out of love, but to position herself to destroy him. The fabricated affair with Tyler was meant to be the final blow to James's reputation before she killed him and disappeared with her son. Tyler, traumatized by the revelation of his mother's true identity and his unwitting role in her schemes, cooperated fully with the investigation. His statement, combined with the mountain of evidence against Megan, cleared him of any charges in her death, which was ruled as self-defense. As for James's murder, forensics confirmed that Megan's prints matched those on the murder weapon. Case closed. Months later, Detective Chen visited Tyler at a rehabilitation facility where he was recovering. "How are you holding up?" she asked gently. Tyler managed a weak smile. "Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning to live with the truth." As Chen left, she reflected on the case that had shaken Millbrook to its core. A tale of love twisted into hatred, of revenge served cold, and of secrets that refused to stay buried. In the end, there were no real winners, only survivors left to pick up the pieces of shattered lives and broken dreams.